And the other thing I'd suggest is that night is, I don't know if we want to just schedule it ahead of time, but we might want to meet in the small group room if we feel we're going to get a number of people attending. So
That would be great.
we don't have to try to switch there at the last minute, and we won't be set up for TV. It's a controversial issue. There's no question about it. And I've heard from a lot of the same people that Jerry's heard from, who are against the sponsorship banners. So I think we need to talk it out, take a vote, and then see what happens from there.
Okay.
So we will get Parks and Rec, we'll get Marty, and we'll get somebody from Rita, from the Recreation Commission here, and let's put that first on the agenda.
Is it possible for us to just have someone from Hillview here?
We
for
could
that
have, that might be a
discussion?
good
I think
idea.
that would be helpful.
If we could have George Stack here,
George or Jack Collins or
Jack
somebody, yeah.
Collins, yeah, have somebody from
Right.
Hillview Commission also. That's a great idea, Karen. And I don't know if we want to have the building inspector here also.
Well, I don't know if you want to put him on that kind of a spot, to be honest with you. He's made a decision
He's made a
on that,
decision,
so
you're
I don't
right,
think,
you're right.
you know.
So we'll do that at our next meeting.
Hillview Commission representative, do you want me to contact that person, or do you want?
Yeah, if you could,
What's the name?
Judge Stack's the
George
chairman.
Stack's the chairman, so, and I think his phone number is on the thing that the Parks and Rec gave us at Athletic Subcommittee. It was a letter from him to Lauren McMullen that they voted unanimously to approve this trial program.
Okay.
All right. Other subcommittees, Policy Subcommittee.
Michael and Cliff.
Everything to update on that?
We met on the 18th and discussed advertising and concluded that our current advertising policies were consistent with what is current in MASC and in two neighboring communities that we espouse to look like. Have some interest in looking like, and as a result, we think that they are consistent with what's current.
Okay.
That would need to be improved or modified.
The other thing we did was we started to well, we decided how we were going to review the policy subcommittee or the policy manual, and so we're going to start from the beginning and try to work through the end. We're going to try to review a section per month, and then if there are any changes, we're going to discuss the changes at each meeting. Secondly, the superintendent, or Kathleen, actually asked Patrick to post the manual up online. And
Oh, good.
Where is it posted now?
It's posted, if you take a look at the left-hand menu,
On the school
there's,
page.
Excellent.
well, actually, there's already been a space that says policies and forms.
Mhm.
So the old policy manual was there.
Right.
And now the new policy manual with updates is posted to that site. So
Now-
the policy manual is online.
We have there are a lot of sections in the policy manual where we don't have policies for certain sections. Do we have to have?
Oh,
No.
Because I'm wondering if we need to go
those
through.
Spaceholders.
But is that an area where you'll also be going through and saying, geez, maybe we should have a policy on
Yeah.
this issue or that issue?
Each policy section, as you know, has an index. And so we'll
Right.
be taking a look at
Okay.
those, the
Okay.
index, and then looking at the policy.
It's a big project, because I know we did one or two sections and it,
The other thing is, for example, like the advertising policy, which is dated 1987, that may be current, so we're just going to put updated or reviewed by
Re-
on
that's-
the
yeah,
date,
yeah.
so
Right.
no one
Okay.
continue to see that
That's a good idea.
1987 policy.
right.
So in
It's a
time,
record
we'll all
for
have
review.
reviewed
Right.
by
Right.
a
Review
review
by-
date.
right.
For
Right.
somebody, yeah.
Even if it didn't change,
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
we'll
Okay.
have that.
Great. That's good progress, because that's a big chore. And then we had the evaluation subcommittee met.
Yep.
Anything new?
This morning at 7
I'll go
a.m.
over. We had a meeting this morning at 7 a.m.
Did you have breakfast
Everybody-
served, or?
No.
No?
Everyone laughs at that, okay. We have two topics we discussed as regular agenda items. The first was how we're going to evaluate ourselves, the school committee. And what we've decided to do is take the draft MASC
The scroll.
instrument.
Thing you showed.
The
The
scroll.
enormous
last
thing we
week,
showed
yeah.
at the last meeting. And what Kathy did was condense it so that, you know, it doesn't include large descriptions, but we have a reference versus having something that's more manageable that we can use to then sit and evaluate different areas, domains of activity under the scope of the school committee. So we've decided to pilot this, and we have come up with some very concrete dates, which mean that we'll have to start this process in April. What we're going to do is do a presentation to the committee about how we're going to evaluate ourselves on April 11th. And we will distribute the tool, I believe we said on that day, and then we will have a turn-in process on April 25th. So the subcommittee has decided that we will compile a composite from all of that. This is, by the way, not subject to the open meeting law as though the superintendent was being evaluated. This is for us and not an internal process, but we do not have to, we're not barred from making a composite, which I think is valuable. There is a metric, a scale with domains ranging from 4 to 0, and the larger tool that we showed you gives you description of what value of 4 is under a specific domain. So we're going to try this out, and then if we like it, we can continue it, we can modify it, but we'll also provide some feedback to MASC about whether this works. So since it's a new tool, and it seems to be okay. I mean, we like it. So.
How do we measure
What we liked in the scroll thing
Right.
is that each of the domains has a descriptive statement of what means an A or a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, and they are different in each domain, so that you get a metric that connects to the domain. So if it, I could pull it out and pick one off, but it's a very detailed what it means, and so you see where you really see where you fit in the process. And we're also going to include a place, how do we move forward, so that we'll use it as a tool to drag us to a higher level.
Hence the timing. The timing was important because this would be built into our setting goals every year, and which we've not had that. We've always sort of come up, well, until this year we've had sort of a cyclical. They would present us goals, and then we would kind of be like, "Oh, where have we been? Where do we want to go?" And this year we did something different where we didn't really think about that. We set our own goals,
Right.
but this will help us inform what kind of school committee we want to be. It's also early enough in the process where if any outgoing member is retiring or whatever, there are changes. We have the feedback of the intact membership for the previous year before the election. So we know what that composite will look like, and then during the summer we'll have our regular workshop that we've always had
Right.
to determine goals.
Will those goals? So how will we measure our goals with this assessment tool?
It's still largely qualitative. What we're going to do is, in our composite, we will, and Cliff and I are still figuring this out, but we're going to look at areas where we agree on the high and low end, and then we're going to look at areas where we disagree so that we can determine areas of discussion. And then we will think about ways that, you know, if we disagree on something, we'll have a discussion about, okay, why do we think so widely different about this particular domain? In the areas where we agree that are on the low end, where we need work, we can discuss and make recommendations about whether we want to prioritize change in that area, or we want to sort of leave it the way it is because it is, in a sense, where we should be in terms of our process as a
Okay.
committee.
Without getting into the whole thing, obviously, but just picking off the first line, the first domain evaluation item, It's knowledge of roles and responsibilities, public administrative functions, and I'll skip the underdeveloped, but to pick up the developing level. Some, but not all members have engaged in such training. Members and the board may act outside of its appropriate roles and responsibilities, may act upon misinformation from lack of parliamentary knowledge or understanding of the law. That's in the developing. And then you go to well-developed. Most members have engaged in professional development in these areas and demonstrate through action an understanding of appropriate roles and responsibilities as well as obligations under various official standards.
Okay.
That you see the progression in there, and the definition is deep enough so that you have a clear metric that you're working on.
Okay.
The other
Sounds good.
piece of our meeting was to discuss the superintendent evaluation. Kathy presented us several examples, that took me a long time, and I was like halfway through before we got to our meeting. But we have a lot more work to do there because we don't have a tool from MASs, although it is under draft. So we're gonna make our own, and we're going to have to define what measures we're using. One topic of discussion was whether we wanted to have a scale or a number attached to different areas or something more qualitative. What is the measure on a scale of, 1 to 5, 1 to 9, what does that mean? Like what is, like Cliff read, what does a number mean in terms of performance? And I think we were in agreement that we want to provide concrete feedback for the superintendent to be able to make adjustments and enhance their performance as well as set more appropriate goals or to continue with goals in more challenging ways. So we need to do a lot more work here, and our next meeting will be a very long working meeting, I think, putting some of this together, and we will come back in the spring with something more concrete.
Okay, great.
So its next meeting is on the 22nd,
22nd
good.
of December?
and December 25th is Christmas, so it won't be that long a meeting.
No, sure.
So we have, the Communications Subcommittee is meeting on the 13th. I should add, I didn't report on this last time, is we're working on a brochure for the North Reading School Department that
That's
will
great.
be produced in-house. I'm gonna write the copy, and then that'll be something that'll be online. It'll be left at the library and the Senior Citizen Center and all the other places in town, barbershops, sub shops, coffee shops, wherever else, just so people can get a feeling for what the school district is about. So we're meeting on the 13th. I hope to have draft copy at that meeting. Then the Policy Subcommittee is the 15th, and Evaluation Subcommittee is the 22nd, as Cliff just said. Anything else? We did have a memo from the superintendent regarding school closings. I don't know if you quickly want to go over that.
Sure.
When we're closing and.
This was a memo that was sent out to all staff regarding the holidays in December and how they will be observed, because 2 of the holidays, both Christmas and New Year's Day, fall on a weekend. And so within the contracts of our secretaries, paraprofessionals, cafeteria workers, custodians, central office personnel, and technology personnel, we needed to identify days when those holidays would be observed because they are paid holidays.
Okay.
And so what I provided to you was what that will look like so that you know when the district is open and not open during that week between Christmas and New Year's Day.
And for the students, we have Thursday, the 23rd is the last day.
That's correct, the
And then
24th
they
are
come back
closed.
on Tuesday, the 4th, right? They have an extra day, correct?
That's right, because we have a professional development day on January 3rd. And on that day, we're doing our mandatory training for the bullying prevention and intervention for all of the staff. So they will report on the 3rd.
So it's a bonus day for the students this year.
It is.
Well, not really, since the holidays on the, well,
Normally
it's
we
an
go
extra
back on
day.
the 3rd, wouldn't we?
Yes, we
Yeah.
would.
We would, yeah.
but you
It's
might
a
have.
Oh,
more
but you
might be
days off
losing
if
a
it's
day,
on
right, right.
Wednesday or a
Still the
Thursday.
same number of days
Still
at
same number
the
of days,
end.
right, at the end, that's right. Anything else? Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, good night.
Is he something off, is he just, so he just puts this stuff on, we cooperate with him?
It's called North Reading Patch.
Oh,